In 2018, Donald Trump imposed sanctions and tariffs on China to curb its rise. However, China used these tariffs as opportunities to advance various industries. The U.S. targeted China's agriculture, which backfired as China purchased soybeans from Brazil. Trump targeted China's steel production, leading to technological breakthroughs that revolutionized the industry. Huawei, China's largest tech company, survived and responded with the fastest growth in 4 years. The launch of the deep-sea car in China has changed the game, with better-performing open-source AI models eliminating the illusion that tariffs could ever contain China. Despite this, the U.S. continues to see the same pattern in industries where tariffs have not achieved their intended goals. Before you move on, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to 10-Minute Quest. To understand why this all went so sideways, let's rewind to 2017. Fresh off his election victory, Donald Trump entered office with a clear mission: confront China. For decades, the U.S. had watched as China transformed itself from a developing nation into an industrial juggernaut. Cheap labor, state-backed industries, and aggressive export strategies allowed China to dominate global markets, and many Americans felt left behind. President Trump's use of tariffs has been criticized for being a tool that has spurred Chinese innovation and made the country stronger. However, this has not been the case. China's trade surplus with the world has reached nearly $1 trillion, with $280 billion of that coming from the United States alone. This puts China in a position that many analysts believe makes it better prepared than ever for a trade war with the U.S. In 2018, Trump's sanctions strategy involved imposing tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese imports, focusing on high-tech sectors like telecommunications and computer components. The aim was to disrupt supply chains and cut off access to critical technology. The strategy was accompanied by a narrative of economic nationalism, stating that America would no longer tolerate China's underhanded trade practices. However, tariffs can ripple through the economy, affecting consumer prices and multinational company operations. Consequently, China reoriented its economic policies, viewing the sanctions as a challenge to double investments in technology and infrastructure. This strategy eventually led to self-reliance and innovation. David Sachs, a close Trump ally and leading voice in America's AI industry, highlights the importance of deep SE innovation. They have managed to get more efficiency out of chips due to export controls that limited advanced chips going to China. This has led to the primary reason why Trump's tariffs and sanctions against China have never worked. Tariffs simply force China to work harder and smarter, accomplishing more with less. For many years, China was the United States' #1 customer of semiconductors. In 2024, China imported a total of $549.2 billion worth of microchips, even higher than the $324.8 billion China spent on importing crude oil that year. Instead of allowing American companies like Intel to profit from robust trade with China, the U.S. government destroyed this source of revenue, resulting in Intel becoming the worst-performing stock in the S&P 500 the last few years. Trump's cabinet includes an unprecedented 13 billionaires, making it the wealthiest administration in history. This wealthy team believes they can cut taxes as much as possible and have tariffs make up the lost revenue. However, this does not make sense, as tariffs are simply taxes taxing trade, which will mean less trade and higher prices for everyone, especially American consumers. Some entrepreneurs, frustrated by high tax bills, built a framework for legally reducing taxes, gaining second citizenships, and investing in countries that actually want your business. They turned this experience into Nomad Capitalist, a company that helps individuals create customized global plans no matter where they start from. They understand that if you're following geopolitical trends, you need a plan to protect your wealth if one country changes its policies overnight. China's tech scene is preparing for the future, with legacy media companies like the Financial Times publishing articles that Donald Trump and his team could have never imagined. China's economic strategy was reshaped by the sanctions imposed by the U.S., which forced its policymakers and business leaders to reconsider their dependence on foreign technology and capital. As American companies retreated from joint ventures and technology transfers stalled, Beijing sought to thrive without relying on old partners. This led to aggressive domestic investment and a renewed focus on research and development, resulting in the Made in China 2025 initiative, which aimed to transform China into a leader in advanced manufacturing and high-tech industries. The sanctions inadvertently accelerated China's technological evolution, causing the global balance of power to shift unexpectedly. One of the biggest game changers? Semiconductor independence. Faced with U.S. restrictions on advanced chips, China poured resources into developing its own semiconductor industry. Companies like SMIC emerged as national champions, reducing reliance on foreign suppliers. China rose as a global software superpower, outstripping the West in e-commerce and digital finance services, and it has invested massively in AI. The United States has an arrogance problem, believing that only Silicon Valley can produce the world's best technology due to its sanctions and tariffs. This is why many tech executives think that only Silicon Valley can produce the world's best technology. A clip from Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, shows that China has dominance in the space right now. Instead of a $100 million investment, China built DeepSea AI with a budget of only $6 million. This open source model proves that top-tier models can be built with relatively small budgets, leveling the playing field. If anyone has dominance in the space right now, it's China. China's only good AI models, not just DeepSea, but also 10 top-tier models, all trained from scratch, equal to or better than Europe's top model. The AI race is very much on, and the future of AI might not be the United States versus China, but Beijing versus Shanghai versus Guangzhou. As many Chinese companies are competing against each other domestically, raising the bar of innovation in China, it's very common in China's tech scene to see domestic competition spurred by the rise of China. China's EV industry has seen hundreds of Chinese companies compete domestically, with only the best companies surviving. This competition is what breeds innovation, not sanctions and tariffs. In the first month of 2025 alone, China achieved significant milestones in the race to create the world's first fusion reactor, which fuses atoms together exactly like our sun does. This technology will offer unlimited clean energy when fully realized. Chinese scientists also generated a steady loop of plasma for a record-breaking 17 minutes, but China wasn't done. A week later, a Chinese company in direct competition with Elon Musk, Starlink, revolutionized the low-orbit satellite industry by creating a satellite that achieved a record data transmission rate of 100 gigabytes per second using a laser. This is 10 times faster than Elon Musk's Starlink and puts China in a position to deliver lightning-fast 6G connectivity to even the most remote locations in the world. However, Washington, D.C. has been sent into full panic mode, with Melanie Hart, the senior director of the Atlantic Council's Global China Hub, advocating for the U.S. to steal China's best AI talent to keep pace with China. This bold statement shows how disconnected from reality some U.S. leaders are about China. Also, Chinese scientists are leaving top U.S. universities to take up high-profile roles in China, boosting Beijing in its race for global talent. This is the result of years of racial profiling and mistreatment from the U.S. government towards Chinese scientists. However, research shows that academic research and recruiting the best talent in the world are closing the technology gap with the United States. Harvard University occupies the top position in the world, while Chinese universities make up the next 8 spots on the Nature Index. In conclusion, China's tech industry is thriving due to its innovation, not sanctions or tariffs. The Trump administration has seen a surprising shift in policy towards China, as they realize the damaging impact of 60% tariffs on all goods from China during their campaign for presidency. Instead of targeting Taiwan's semiconductor industry with high tariffs, Trump has targeted the Taiwanese delegation and questioned the aid the U.S. government is giving to the island. This move has led to a shift away from the reckless, new conservative strategy that has defined U.S. foreign policy for the past 20 years. The Trump administration's Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has publicly acknowledged the multipolarity of the world, acknowledging that the United States is no longer the only dominant force. Washington's leading China hawks are now being forced to admit that China's dominance is undeniable, and competing through hostility is no longer an option. It is unclear whether this pivot towards pragmatism is a long-term strategy or just another short-term maneuver. America's attempts to contain China have completely backfired, and the rest of the world has taken notice from AI, energy, and global trade. China is shaping the future while Washington is still trying to rewrite the past. As these developments continue to unfold, the geopolitical landscape is shifting. So, what do you think? China's advanced technology and space project will change the entire future of how energy is produced in the world. As the geopolitical landscape continues to unfold, it is essential to remember that foreign policy should always be about furthering the national interest of the United States and avoiding war and armed conflict. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.